Hi guys, let's talk about settling the solar system. Elon Musk thinks we should build a giant city on Mars. I'm not sure what Jeff Bezos wants to do, other than, make sure everybody's peeing in bottles. I find myself kind of agreeing with Elon Musk on this one. We do need to get out there. I used to tell my kids, my daughter in particular, she would ask me 100 times a day when she was like 4 years old, what happened to the dinosaurs, Dad? Why did the dinosaurs die? And my answer was always, because they didn't have a space program. So let's talk about that. Before we go any further, make sure to click like and subscribe. That way you'll get to see more content like this. Also, to help other people find this content. You can also join my Patreon. There'll be links down below. And a reminder at the end of the video. For now, enjoy the rest of the video. Now, this plan that I've got, basically 4 parts to it, and I'm only going to talk about the first part right now. The question is, there are 2 problems we need to solve. One of them is we really don't know where everything is in our solar system. Now, NASA's gotten pretty good at tracking asteroids and shit that gets close to Earth. Every few months there's a new story about, oh, here's a big rock that we didn't notice until it got pretty close and it might hit us. I don't like reading those stories. I don't like hearing about them. I think we need to see these rocks before they get that close. And we just don't have enough sensory devices to do that. So let's fix that. The second problem is, as we move farther out into the solar system, communication is going to become a serious issue, bandwidth in particular. Now, right now, NASA has their deep space network, where everything they launch is part of this network, and they're able to pass information around. And for what they're doing right now, it's got plenty of bandwidth. But if we put 1 million people on Mars, we don't have the bandwidth. So let's talk about the first problem. How are we going to be able to see everything in the solar system? Originally, my idea was that we would take the Hubble telescope. We would revise the design a few more times. We would make it smaller so that we could launch more than one on the same rocket. We would use more recent technology to replace some of the older, heavier stuff to do that. The thing is, the Hubble's not really the right telescope for this. I'm thinking instead what we need to do is take a CubeSat, which has all the electronics and processing that we need, and communication, and we need to attach a telescope to that. And this telescope, we need 2 kinds. We need one that only looks in visible light and one that only looks at infrared light. And we need to launch them, not necessarily in pairs, but we need to be able to launch like 4 on a Falcon 9, basically, or a Falcon Heavy. Falcon Heavy is fine, and anybody who makes a rocket that can launch at least 4 will be able to launch one. The second thing we need to do with this design is we need to make it public. We need to make it so that any country that has the resources to make one can build one. By doing that, we can get everybody else involved. We don't have to be the United States and the EU are the only ones doing this. Maybe Russia's going to help. They probably don't have any money because they're spending it all losing in Ukraine. So, but you want someone like, say, Colombia wants to put a satellite up there, and Brazil wants to put a satellite up there. Fine, and India and Japan, who both have their own space programs. Maybe China's going to want to put some up there. All very robust launch platforms, all of them capable of handling these launches too. So everybody helps, nobody quits.
That's the spirit!
And we just launch a whole shitload of these up there. And the first round, we put them all in solar orbit, between Earth and Mars. And we need to have them spaced out. One of the issues we have right now is if the telescope's in orbit around Earth, we can't see what's on the other side of the sun. So in order to be able to see what's on the other side of the sun, we need to have a telescope over there. That's why you put them in solar orbit. Then we need to put them in polar orbit around the sun. So we'll have some on the ecliptic, the same place all the planets are. Then we'll put some in polar orbit that will go the long way because we have got the whole sphere we need to cover. And we'll be able to see the whole, whatever the range is. And we don't need to have a real long range on any of these telescopes. They don't have to be ultra high resolution. If they can see out to Jupiter from Earth, that's good enough. And the reason that's good enough is because as we advance and build more of them, and all these launch services are getting cheaper, this is one of the ways we can make launch services cheaper, which will make it easier to launch people. We need lots of things to launch, and we need to quit putting everything in Earth orbit because we got a junk problem now. So we launch a bunch of these telescopes. We can put 6, we can put 12, near Earth, not in Earth orbit, still solar orbit. We could put another 12 in various polar orbits, and we'll cover the whole solar system eventually, because then we'll launch some more. We'll put them out by Jupiter, we'll put them out by Saturn, out by Neptune, by the orbits, not by the planets. The idea is to space them out enough so that we can always see the entire solar system. Now, when we're able to see the entire solar system, we're going to have 2 issues we run into. One is, the biggest issue is going to be latency, which is the farther you put the telescope, the longer it takes for the signal to reach us. Also, for the telescopes that are on the other side of the sun, they're not going to be able to communicate with us directly. So this is where we have to solve the communication problem. And that's by creating the space internet, which is really what this video is about. So all these CubeSats will become switches, routers, essentially, using existing internet protocols. We'll have to add in some more tolerance for the distances involved. And then they'll all connect to each other, and they'll route packets just like, the internet already does. Be able to communicate with Starlink, the NASA's Deep Space Network, whatever. That's how signals will get here to Earth. We can even put a station out on the moon to receive signals and then send it down to Earth, whatever. Point is, we'll be able to receive the information as soon as possible after getting it, but some of this stuff is going to take a while to get here. If it's on the other side of the sun and it has to travel from, this satellite to that one, and then finally it can come to us, that could be an hour from when the image was captured before we receive it. So additionally, we're going to have a giant computer that any country with the resources can build that will be ultimately receiving all of this information, and they'll be simulating. But the simulation will never be out of date because it'll always be getting new information. It will always be adjusting itself based on new information it's receiving. So we'll be able to know in real time, because of this simulation, where everything is. And we will be able to find everything in the solar system this way. Now, you might think this is kind of brute force. We could just keep throwing a few telescopes up here and there and looking around, and we'll eventually find everything, and it's not a problem. Then we'll have everything graphed out, we'll be able to predict where it's at and so forth. And that's a wonderful idea, but what happens when some interstellar object shows up and we haven't spotted it? Oumuamua, whatever that thing was called, it got really close to Earth before we even knew it was there. It's been in our solar system for a while. It's still in our solar system. It's just too far away for us to look at it anymore. And it is eventually going to leave our solar system, just like it came in from interstellar space. How are we going to see objects like that after we've discovered everything that's in our solar system? We're going to need the telescopes. Additionally, what if the object that comes into our solar system isn't a rock or a comet or even a rogue planet? What if it's a spaceship with people in it, with weapons? Now, there's an argument to be made that we're probably one of the first, if not the first, intelligent species in the planet, or in the universe, at least in our neighborhood. There's a fair argument for that. I might link a video below talking about it. And if that's true, we don't need to worry about it. We don't need to build a space internet. We should just give up, because we're just stuck alone. Actually, it doesn't matter if that's true or not. Here's what matters. We claim the entire solar system is ours, but it's not. Let's go ahead and poke the China-Taiwan situation. China claims Taiwan, but in order for China to assert sovereignty over Taiwan, they have to invade it and take it. So China can claim Taiwan all they want, but if they can't go over there militarily and claim it, they can't have it. What happens if Taiwan can defend themselves? Then Taiwan gets to exist and say, this is ours. This is us. You can't come here. It's sort of the same thing with our solar system. If we're not ready to launch ships and missiles and so forth, boots on the ground is needed to keep Mars, and someone comes along and says, you know what, we want Mars. Well, then guess who has Mars? Not us. Jupiter, all those moons. Saturn, all those moons. Think about all the methane around Titan. We got Starship heavy launch platform using methane. We've got the BE-4 engine that's on the Vulcan rocket. Or is it Centaur? Vulcan. Vulcan, right? Anyway, that's methane. We'll be able to find methane in other places, but once we get to Titan, we're going to have unlimited rocket fuel. Assuming we're still using methane by then. If someone else gets to Titan before we do, guess who doesn't have unlimited rocket fuel? You can't keep what you can't defend. And the first step to being able to defend our solar system from anything, from anybody, from a rock that decides it wants to hit Earth, how do we defend ourselves from that? Well, the first step is to know where everything is. So let's build the space internet and let's find out where everything is. Thank you for watching the video. If you made it this far, you definitely need to like and subscribe. Ring the bell if you want to get notifications. And don't forget to join my Patreon. At some point, when people join my Patreon, this wall is going to be filled with names. Obviously, there aren't any right now. YouTube might be suggesting some videos here for you to watch. You could also do that. Have a nice day.